everyone who joins us today for our another live stream. We're live, by the way, so ask your questions live. And we're going to talk today about Microsoft audits returning, but not only that, because Microsoft audits are returning and what's happening and why you will be audited at some point, especially if you're a service provider. Those are pretty hot topics of the end of the last year, and it'll probably be part of the leitmotif for 2026. I don't know if you're in this watching the industry of licensing and IT asset management and software asset management and procurement of software. You may have heard about the Flexera report, and Flexera said that 50% of the organizations they quizzed, asked questions, surveyed, that's the word, responded that they were audited in 2025. That's ridiculous. I mean, obviously, it's not only Microsoft. There's Oracle, there are other vendors, but it is happening. So as a quick round of intro, we don't expect everybody to know us. We are SAMexpert. We're an independent consultancy that manages Microsoft costs. We don't sell Microsoft licenses. We don't care about Microsoft sales. So we don't look back over our shoulder at Microsoft when we say something. So rest assured, if it's BS, we'll call it. And with me, I have my colleague, Daryl Luman, who's our Chief Negotiation Officer, and he's involved a lot in audit and post-audit negotiations to basically sort out the mess that is created by very complicated Microsoft rules, non-working tools, people failures, let's be honest, people failures as well, and Microsoft's appetite for revenue. Audits are complex, reasons are complex, and we try and solve it together. So Daryl, I don't know if you want to say hello.
Yeah, so good to be on another live. New year, 2026. So we've basically wrapped up 2025. It's been a crazy year. As Sasha pointed out, I think our biggest surprise was the number of audit defense projects that we were brought into. We didn't expect it. 2024 was really around enterprise agreement renewals, around Azure migration, Mac agreement, still going on, but 2025 really changed from that perspective. Let's talk about it a bit today, Sasha.
Absolutely.
More of, a bit of informative discussion. We can elaborate a bit what we saw in 25, what we expect in 26. And I think that what you said was really a reassurance of what we're seeing in the market from the Flexera survey. That was, again, to me, was a big surprise. But again, it basically just cross-reference what we're seeing in the market and not something specific to SAMexpert, but something general in the market. So it's worthwhile, spending a few minutes on that. Again, not too much time. This is not a panic discussion. That's not the point. I've been around too many years around Microsoft to put panic in our customers' hearts, but it's just something that needs to be said because it's there and it's worthwhile spending a few minutes on it anyway. But there are quite a few other topics, Sasha, that I know that we discussed before the live, what we thought would be beneficial and of value. So you take, you decide in which direction we're going to go.
Moderate.
Please.
Moderate. Yeah, but I want to close off the initial topic because there will be people who will come to this video when it's recorded and people who may be watching us right now and asking themselves the question of why are we saying that Microsoft audits are not if but when, and I want to. It sounds like a panic statement, but I want to draw a realistic picture here. There's no reason for panic. We need to be realists. We need to expect things to happen and be prepared. So enterprises in Europe are probably safe. That's what I'm hearing from ex-Microsoft people just exiting Microsoft. They said that Europe specifically has a different policy compared to other large regional Microsoft entities. We're not Microsoft. Daryl used to be, but we're not Microsoft now, so I can't confirm that. But we can confirm it from the dynamics that we see in the corporate not yet service providers, in the corporate sector. So we're dealing with audits in Asia. We saw a resurgence of audits in 2025 in the United States and Canada. We saw audits in South America, and again, corporate audits. But Europe is quiet, so, okay, there's a reason to believe the words of that particular person that Europe, whether they don't have resources, they will not tell. However, there is another part of the market which is very interesting for Microsoft, because it consolidates lots of clients in one place. Hosting providers. So hosting providers get audited, not because Microsoft wants to just recover revenue. They do. Not because Microsoft wants to migrate everybody in those hosting providers to their own Azure. Understandably, they do. But also because, and it's an interesting excuse, which I learned as well in 2025, they have to. Because they're partners, they represent Microsoft, they deal with resales to end clients, so they have to maintain competitive level playing field between partners. So, or do they choose some providers over others? Yes. So there's still a choosing mechanism, but there is a plan. They have to run those audits. They have to. So for service providers, it's exactly the question of when, not if. If you are reporting more than roughly 20K a month, you're in that area. I heard numbers of 30K, 50K. Our statistics, and we do a lot of audit defense, is 20K a month. You are under the microscope, and if the bigger you are, the more interesting you are. And what end clients should be concerned about is that effectively they are also part of the audit, because when Microsoft audits service providers, they have to, again, it's a legal requirement, audit everything that runs on those service providers. And unless you have very protected arrangements, the providers doesn't touch what's inside your virtual machine, they don't provide any licenses, then potentially Microsoft may learn, potentially, because, well, again, I have to be absolutely truthful. Results are, in most cases, anonymized, but conversations may go about whom to blame, what happened there, what happened here, why is this certain environment not compliant. So there's a potential risk that it's almost like a thorough audit of what enterprises do using hosting providers. So it's just to close off that question. And I want to move on to and pass it on to Daryl, and let me set the scene. So there is that partner requirement, but as I already mentioned, there is a desire for new revenue and new revenue types. This is why audits happen, and Daryl is very good, can very well explain that. Switching to subscriptions, we'll get to that. And there is a desire to sell more Azure. Azure is already growing at exorbitant speed, like 37% per year, if not per quarter. I may be mixing those two numbers in my head right now. Sorry, I haven't slept last night. And the audits are a sales tool. And it's all connected to what's going on right now with Microsoft's target audience, market, new agreements, new shifts. So, Daryl, please...
So let me just add on, and then I'm going to close the subject and move on to other areas. So, as Sasha said, two types of audits: service providers and enterprises. Now, service providers, big push towards Azure, of course, and I think it's a bit of an intimidation tactic to move as many customers away from SPLA. So Microsoft, to be truthful, has been trying to kill SPLA SPLA for years. They haven't been successful, and they can't do it one-sidedly because they are scrutinized by government regulations and by various committees globally, because that will kill competition completely. So that's an anti-competition move if they just stop SPLA. One will say that's an easy way to do it, but they will come under huge legal pressure. So that's not going to happen. The legal way to do it is through audits. It's partially successful, but not 100% successful. I think that's maybe the reason that European customers are less under the audit microscope, due to the fact that Microsoft's being really scrutinized legally in Europe for various anti-competition laws and practices. So pretty complicated situation there. On the enterprise side, I just want to point out that the orders that we are seeing are mainly for customers that have been, for many reasons, have been slow to move to 365 and still using a mix of competitive products and on-premise. Customers that are being slow, in Microsoft's view, to move to Azure. So they still have a very strong data center presence on-prem, maybe either locally or with third-party partners and not Microsoft. Again, everything leads to, one, lost revenue, but more importantly for Microsoft is cloud, cloud, cloud. Nothing new. We've been talking about this for years now, but there's been like this push over the last 12 to 18 months. I believe we're going to continue to see this over the next 12 to 18 months. This push is going to increase. We also been talking to some colleagues that are in the large consulting firms, and what we're seeing is that they're actually increasing their staff around audit practices. As we saw in the Flexera report, recommend to read it. It's Microsoft, IBM, Oracle, VMware now is sorry, I've gone blank. Is who the company that purchased VMware? Sorry, I've gone blank. Sasha, who purchased VMware?
Broadcom.
Sorry,
The Chinese.
Yeah, sorry,
aggregator.
I just went blank. So again, Broadcom as well. We all know that they're highly auditing their customers due to the fact that the whole change in licensing practices and so on. So going to pause there. Keep that in the back of your mind. You want to hear more? Plenty of information on our website and on YouTube regarding audit practices, best practices, so on. Read at your leisure. Yeah. Next subject, Sasha.
I want to move on to those economic drivers. Well, what is Microsoft trying to achieve, and what we need to be aware of, not in regards to even audits. Audits may happen or may not happen. Licensing is an everyday task, and Golly Microsoft delivered, especially in the beginning of January, but the entire 2025, and then the plans for 2026. Look at that. AI, which is consumption, push to consumption, switching from scorecard products, when sales representatives were rewarded for selling specific products, to a completely new KPI model of revenue growth. It was already there, but now it's obvious. Now, basically, if you work for Microsoft, you have these targets. Now these targets are, this client must grow by an X percentage next year, or you're fired. So pick one. Daryl, do you want to talk about any of this?
Yeah. So I want to just talk about incentives, Microsoft rep incentives, as you said. One of the things that you need to pay really close attention to 2026 is basically Microsoft's second H2, and it's going to be a huge push. I think that we're all following Microsoft's stock price. It's been underperforming, and they need to exceed market expectations. So we're going to see a huge aggressive push. We saw it a bit with Copilot promotions for small and medium customers, where Microsoft came in with, 15 to 20% discounts. I can't remember exactly different tiers, but they came in very, very aggressively around Copilot. AI is their biggest bet. Okay, let's be really. They've spent, what was the number that I read? I think 60 billion in infrastructure.
64. They planned 80. They spent
64.
64.
Thank you.
Yeah.
64 billion in infrastructure. Again, you need to understand what's happening from an operational perspective with Microsoft to understand what the pressure is going to be on you as a end customer. So huge infrastructure investments. Microsoft is a software company. Well, used to be a software company. They still are a software company, but they also are a hosting / infrastructure company. That's a huge change. Where Microsoft used to sell a license for $1, for example, their margins were huge because once they finalized the development, just say 30 cents on the dollar, every cent was a profit. Here, it's not only development of the products, they have ongoing operational infrastructure costs that are huge, that if they are not consumed, they actually are losing money. Huge paradigm change. If they don't sell more services on Azure, they don't migrate more customers from on-prem and bill them for the electricity, for the hardware, for the software, for the utilities, for security, everything that goes around that, they're actually going to start losing money. So I think it's the first time in history that potentially Microsoft can lose money if they increase revenue, where before it was just a question of increasing margin. So it's a whole new way of looking at the Microsoft business, meaning for you, again, increased pressure, especially around going back to auditing to move customers from on-prem to Azure. You could say it's the same revenue, but it's not the same revenue. It's
Yeah.
you against operations, against
Completely different financials around that. Absolutely, as you just explained.
Yeah, different expectations from NASDAQ, completely from analysts as well. So I think that is something that you need to just keep in mind going into 2026. What's the underlying push by Microsoft and why? The better you understand that, the easier it's going to be for you to negotiate potentially a better deal going forward.
Are you seeing? So that's probably not connected to audits directly, but are you seeing effect of? And I'm asking Daryl, by the way, so you understand. I'm more in the service provider area of our business. Daryl deals with enterprises more. So actually, I'm interested myself. In the recent negotiations and benchmarking exercises, are you already seeing the effect of the Microsoft removing the level discounts? And just for those who still don't know, are unaware, and by the way, you really shouldn't be unaware of this, Microsoft used to have volume discounts even for online services, those that Daryl just described with underlying electricity and whatever costs. They used to give discounts straight away. So if you're over 25,000 seats, large company, massive company, you got previously 12% to 13% discount of the list price straight away. Not anymore. So yeah, Daryl, can you comment on this?
Yeah,
please?
so that is, I think that was the biggest contractual change that's happened in Microsoft in 25 years. And why am I saying that? Because it changes completely the way Microsoft views large enterprises. And if large enterprises were automatically provided a price discount based on size, that is no longer the case. What it means is that large organizations over 15,000 users will see an automatic price increase of approximately 12 to 15% out of the door, just price list. Not saying you can't negotiate, but it's going to be very difficult to negotiate both the increase in volume pricing that was lost and keep the same level of discounts that you had historically. What's going to happen? More revenue for Microsoft programmatically, because Microsoft changed the program. So it's almost like a default that your prices are going to increase. On top of that, we are expecting, not officially, but it's out there, that there's going to be a price increase, list price increase in July.
Yeah.
Of online services. Which online services exactly, we don't know yet, but it's coming.
I would say we don't know. We don't have the exact list, but there are hints, and there are. They kind of said maybe this, even E5 will be affected.
Maybe exactly. It's
for the first
E5
time in history. Yeah.
You're right. E5 hasn't increased. The price for E5 has increased in a long, long time. E3 has. The components have. The individual components have. So E5 is most probably high on that list. We might even see a new SKU come out. Again, this is July, so it's going to be Microsoft's FY27. So it's going to be the new fiscal year. So a lot of changes are going to come mid-year. What we recommend already today for FY26 is, if you've got a renewal coming in July, August, September, think about an early renewal. It's worthwhile already starting. We're already in January. Bring that forward. There are two benefits to that. One, you'll get the pricing price increase in July. That's one. Two, there's just been a drop, first time in a long time. If I'm not mistaken, the euro price list went down by 7.4%, and then there were additional other currencies that also were decreased. Sasha, do you remember them by heart?
I'll explain. So what Microsoft does is, as they sticking up to their promise. I think they made it a couple of years ago. It was a long time ago. Sometimes I say 2 years ago, and actually happened 5 years ago. It's how, interestingly, how fast the time goes. They said we're gonna, time to time, realign regional price lists with USD, and if you actually watch it closely, it's not always realignment with USD. There are some probably other driving factors which we don't know. So it's not exactly rebalancing the prices with USD. But what will happen? First of February, actually, as far as I remember.
1st of February.
1st of February. European price list in European currencies. So it's like Danish krona, Swedish krona, obviously Euro, CHF, Swiss franc, they will all go down by a certain percent. So if your contract is in a local currency, that will have a positive impact. Will that level out the price increases? You know, Daryl mentioned price increases. What I'm interested in is as an analyst, and I'm an analyst. Sorry, it's just something I do. I actually want to look back at the last 3 years of, even maybe 3 years plus, of all the pricing increases, and put together, just at least for us now, you know, before publishing, but we'll probably publish it. The cumulative, the total impact of all these tweaks and increases and platform changes and migrations from Power BI to Fabric, which it's not a massive budget item, but for that budget item, it's double the costs, sometimes triple, sometimes quadruple, because what often happens if you've not been around Microsoft, and even if you have been, the numbers have jumped up. But if you haven't been around Microsoft, if you deal with different vendors, different contracts, so Oracle has its own way of increasing revenue. They repackage the SKUs. So even their contract says you can renew your SKU, you can't because it just disappears from the price list, and they introduce a new one. That's their tactic. Microsoft just adjusts things because they can. Because they're ubiquitous. You can't do your business without Microsoft unless you're a small business. You can just go on Google. Let's be honest. And you may not like this comment of mine, but I look at the reality, and very few organizations migrate off Microsoft. There's something happening in Europe. Hopefully, we'll succeed. I'm going on a tangent. So the cumulative impact of all the changes is not 7, 10, 15%. It's much bigger. And I even suspect, and by the way, Daryl, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong, maybe this is not what I understand properly about the psychology of Microsoft account reps. Yes, they have a target of increasing consumption. It used to be 15%, maybe different now this year. We don't know that, but for many years, the lowest limit of the increase of the revenue from a client at the renewal was 15%. Below that, it was considered a failure. It's more than that. And account reps, we heard about a couple of account reps at the end of the 2025 when they actually helped the client to at least start not from a 50% increase. Because that is the effect of all the increases that happened during 3 years with your flat prices, your flat products. You come to renewal, and suddenly it's not a slight increase. It's 50%. And procurement isn't ready for it. So instead of throwing in those numbers, what I'm trying to do now is to actually research it and put together a number, which we need to be ready for, even ourselves internally, because we have to deal with it.
Sasha, I want to just bring up another topic that, of course, is really high on everybody's agenda. And we've seen a lot and we've talked a lot about it. And 2026, again, it's going to be a AI year.
Yeah.
It's everything to do with AI. I know that you've been researching this a lot. You published a paper on the effect of AI within the Microsoft product mix. And one of the things, and this I'm going to push back to you, that when I read your article, I was super surprised. I didn't understand the depth of AI being embedded into almost the entire stack of Microsoft products, and the effect of that on licensing, on even the hard stickiness of ever moving away from Microsoft or introducing alternatives to Microsoft. It's just so sticky these days that it's just everywhere, this like AI beast. Do you want to just maybe give us a quick brief on, I don't know, some of your top findings when you wrote that article?
I'll go very high level. First of all, Daryl is absolutely right. When you start looking into the abyss of AI in Microsoft, it's not scary. It's just bigger than you thought, and it's bigger on the inside. There are so many copilots, and we usually talk about M365 Copilot, but there's an older product, GitHub Copilot, which developers use a lot. There are now security copilots, Dragon Copilot for medics, various offerings on top of that, agents, Agent 365, which is still not clarified. It's a bit of a mystery. You can try and test it right now, but there's no public information, not much, and no pricing on Agent 365. The biggest worry for me is not that there are so many products and they keep being renamed. At some point, it'll probably stabilize. Hopefully, I really hope it'll stabilize. It's that makes cost management 10 times more complicated. Not impossible, but more complicated. You can't protect yourself up front anymore from AI. You have to manage costs almost on a daily basis. And you have to research new tools. There are no existing good tools. What Microsoft says, oh, here's a tool to analyze AI. Come on, look at that data critically. You'll understand what I mean. It will affect financially everyone and if that shift hasn't happened in your mind yet, that now you're in the completely consumption/subscription era, it will affect you. So the only maybe I'm not sure that's a positive moment, but then again a bit of moment of realism is that actually the Microsoft 365 Copilot's uptake, as opposed to GitHub Copilot, which is very popular, is still not fantastic. Microsoft, if you notice in their reports, they dilute the numbers, they hide them. So it's not growing as rapidly as they expected, but it's growing. There is adoption, there is a certain acceptance rate. There are more and more successful POCs, which we hear about that they exist but never seen one. This is a very important comment. Show me a working Copilot implementation. I mean, really working, like end to end, and users use it every day properly with agents and whatnot. Anecdotes exist. Real implementations are yet to be seen. But yeah, Microsoft is Copilot. I even heard recently, last week, that even E5 is, well, obviously they switched to consumption metrics, but anyway, even E5 is no more like a sales target. Maybe that's the reason they suddenly gave up and said, you know what, we'll increase the price as well on E5, because it's not the goal anymore. It's everything that has AI in its name, and we'll see more and more this year. You can take my word as a promise.
Yeah, I also think, Sasha, that we're going to see the new era of AI agent licensing, something that we talked about, others in the market are talking about. That's also going to be a pure everything today is subscription based, everything's consumption based. I've actually started to see Microsoft move customers off enterprise agreements, EAs that are perpetual, to EAS, EA subscription.
Why is that? Because obviously we've heard about move to MCAE. Why subscription?
Yeah, I'll tell you my thought behind it. I didn't get a clear answer when I pushed. I think that it's just, well, I would say two assumptions. One is just operational. Microsoft wants to start cutting down on the paperwork and the operational side, because it's a completely different operation. It's contractually, legally. They want to start consolidating. So whoever's renewing a very large EA, be ready to be migrated to an EAS, to an EA subscription. Now, there are pros and cons. Not many cons there. We took a deep dive for a customer now. Took a really deep dive. There are things that you need to look out for so you don't lose specific use rights and your price doesn't spike in various areas. But everything is doable. Everything is containable. But yes, so we're seeing that move. Operationally, I can understand it. I also think that there's it's a mindset where Microsoft is no longer a licensing company. I used to call Microsoft a licensing company first. For years, you ask me what's Microsoft, I would say Microsoft's a licensing company. They develop software, but they are a licensing company. They're no longer a licensing company. As I started off, they sell almost, I would say, software services or operational services for the IT and for the tech industry. It's a different ball game. So I think that also changes. That's part of changing the mindset of how you work with Microsoft, how you value Microsoft. Everything's consumption. everything's subscription based. Licensing, I would almost say, is coming to an end. The way that we knew it is really coming to an end. So it's been dying for the last few years, but Microsoft's trying to kill the concept or the contractual aspect, not the concept, the contractual aspect of old school perpetual type licenses. Funny enough, I was also quite surprised. I did a bit of a study, not study, I'd call it research online, and regarding pure licensing, buying a license, like old school, buying an Office license, buying a Windows license, an Exchange, SharePoint. I was actually surprised that it's still out there. So there's still a big market. I don't know how big. Okay, I can't tell you if it's in the billions. Okay, how big I don't know. So there's still this churn of perpetual licenses out there. Microsoft hates it, of course, but there are still old school organizations out there that, big and small, usually smaller organizations, that just late adopters. They don't want to jump on this monthly billing system that Microsoft introduced, and they still buy perpetual licenses. Interesting enough. And of course, you still have a second-hand market, especially in Europe, where it's legal. So you still have a second-hand licensing market, and that's, again, perpetual with software assurance, perpetual without software assurance. So it's still there. Licensing is still there. Microsoft would love to kill it completely, make it go away. Yet it's a dying breed. I would say in 5 to 10 years, I'll be surprised if people even teach licensing as we know it. Again, all subscription based. Another aspect that I would like to talk about, you want to touch on this? Because I see you brought up something on the screen.
Nah, you can continue. I just wanted to show it later. You know what? I'll hide it for now.
Yeah, just hide it. Yeah, I just want to touch on, I know we've got a few more minutes to go. I want to touch on Azure Max and cost optimization going into 2026. I know we talked quite a bit about, I like to call it old school contractual contracting. But all of that is moving at the end of the day. And this is where the market's going. As I said, consumption subscription equals, at the end of the day, 365 and Azure. Macs are growing. Microsoft is pushing aggressively, double-digit growth on customers' Mac agreements. And at the same time, of course, discounts are declining. If you don't have a double-digit growth prediction, commitment, very difficult to negotiate discounts. Now, this goes back to, not saying that you can't, and we do negotiations, and don't misunderstand me, but I'm a big advocate, although that I negotiate for a living, I'm a big advocate to, before you negotiate, optimize. And if it was super important with licensing back in the day, Windows, SQL, desktop licensing, it was like standard practice with all the software asset management processes, methodologies, tools out there. Something is lacking on the Azure, on the cloud side consumption. Not only Azure, it's AWS, GCP. We address it all. Is that there is not that in-depth, deep dive pre-negotiations of what is your optimization potential, because when you go into a negotiation, it's a 3 to 5 year commit, potentially with a growth prediction.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you only predict growth, but you don't predict optimization? You're going to have so much old school shelfware that you're going to just purchase services that you don't need because you want to meet your commitment goals and then get specific rebates based on meeting your your commitment obligations. So one of the things that I talk about a lot with customers, and I can tell you that I'm surprised they don't go through a optimization process pre-negotiations. This is not FinOps. Okay, this is not FinOps. It's confusing. The people that do FinOps are not paid to optimize. Engineers are not paid to optimize. They are there to basically make sure the business is running, and they don't care if they take a 20, 30, 40% safety margin on consumption and on peak usage and on database and everything. What do they care? They pay to make things running smoothly. So who has that optimization target? Very difficult to say. So I think 2026, to my opinion, should be around best practices of optimizing pre-negotiations. It doesn't mean that you need to implement optimization, because it takes time. I know that. Sometimes it takes 6, 12, 18 months to do a deep dive optimization. But you are able to put together a prediction of what that optimization is going to look like, and then bring that into your growth predictions. And that is going to be your go-forward commitment. And then you're actually building a in-house requirement to optimize, because if you don't optimize, you're going to overcommit. So you understand what's happening here. You're actually building in internal commitment to optimize, where if you don't do that, nobody's got an agenda, and your bottom line of expenses is just going to increase. And we all know that at the end of the day, it's much more challenging to increase sales than to decrease your operational expenses. And cloud is becoming one of the biggest expenses on the P&L. So this requires a change in thought process, in responsibilities, preparation, and so on and so on. But there's such a big opportunity there that I believe organizations will start implementing that as a best practice, just as they did with old school software asset management practices.
Thanks, Daryl. Just as a closing moment, I mean, we've been online for 45 minutes.
Yeah, and my coffee's cold already, so whatever's left of it. So.
I just wanted to quickly, first of all, I'll put the QR code on screen with the link to the excuse me, to the article, but I'll also show on screen what the current Copilot family looks like, and it's massive, it's overwhelming. This is when somebody says Copilot, it's the question, which one? Which one? And there are Copilot features in Teams Premium. So there's free Copilot. There's not a free Copilot. There's a by the way, there's a very for small organizations, if you're watching us, there's a very interesting offer from Microsoft, which is called Microsoft Copilot Business, and it's $21 per user per month. So instead of a promotion for small businesses, Microsoft rolled out a new product for small businesses. The bizarre situation about it is that it was announced only to partners on the 1st of December. It exists, but you won't find it anywhere. It's not mentioned on the Microsoft website. It's not mentioned in product terms, but you can buy it. It's there. It's just know that. You know, if you're a small business under 300 seats and you're considering, we want Copilot for us, you know, I don't know, we're a copywriting agency, or we research organization, you have a use for AI. Then just remember, you don't need to negotiate the 30% down. Sorry, $30 down. You can just buy one for $21. And you know what? I just need to check the maybe it's already in the web store. Maybe it's just there, but it's not in product terms. In the Microsoft's most important licensing center of knowledge, it doesn't exist. But you can see from here. We'll probably need another live event maybe next month just to talk about AI, because personally I'm expecting something big to come at the end of January. I won't make any progressions, any projections now. Let's wait and see.
I think
Sorry,
Sasha.
my phone just came back, so we need to finish this.
Yeah, I think that we need to finish. Wrap up. As usual, any questions, just drop us an email, either directly. My email is Daryl, DARYL @SAMexpert.com, or via our website. Very easy to find us.
There's a QR code for the website.
And there's a QR code, so just Google us, whatever. I would almost say we're everywhere these days from a social media perspective. Easy to get hold of us. So thank you very much, everyone. Been a pleasure as always, Sasha. Good start to 2026. And looking forward to some additional good chats in the next 12 months.
Thank you
very much, everyone.
For being with us today.
Bye.
Have a good day.